I'll try not to change the questions. And then, as long as it's not personal questions, I'll let you, if you want to ask a question about it as well.
Yeah, nothing personal.
Yeah.
There's family in the audience.
The first one was, Tyler, did you have any professors that were Christians while you were going through state college? You went to Du Bois for 2 years and then 2 years at state college. Were there any that you knew were believers?
At Du Bois. The 2 years I spent at Du Bois, there was definitely more teachers and professors that were open about what their faith were.
Okay.
So honestly, probably at state college, I spent 2 years there and would have no idea what their faith was. They weren't very open about it. But in state college, you're ridiculed for either side of it, so
Okay.
it doesn't really matter.
Either side of?
Whether you have faith in any denomination or if you're atheist, it's
Okay.
there's groups.
Okay. I figured that.
Very doable.
And again, because when your kids go away to college, being in a more secular environment, you have the advantage here of having, when your kids go off to school, you have some of that, but you have teachers here, just in our congregation. You have Amy and who's the other ones? Denise, Jody, Carrie, Becky Peterson. You have people who have faith who are teaching your kids. Even though all of them don't, you have board members who are making rules, I guess, for the school district that you have at least 3 of them from our congregation, people of faith and others. When you get to the secular arena, it usually isn't quite that way. And so it's wonderful that you can send your kids off to school here, even a secular school, because you have so many teachers who are people of faith who won't put your child down for faith. So the second question was, did you have any professors who were blatantly anti-Christian?
Yeah, I did. It was actually my first semester at Du Bois. The professor was my biology professor, of course, and I actually brought my book today because I wanted to take this exact quote. I wrote it down when he said it on the second day of class. Evolution drives the world as we know it, not the mystical ideas of an ultimate being. And that was coming from a professor my second day in college, in the field that I was going to be in. And that was his opening line, my first day of his class. So. Yeah,
because I have what I think happens at secular universities. Tyler has what he knows because he's been there. I was at a Bible college, not a secular university, but don't misunderstand me. There are people in Bible college teaching who aren't. In fact, one of the Bible colleges our friends went to, they were almost teaching evolution there at the Bible college, and so it's there's no guarantee any place, and so but it is a little more in the secular. The third question is, did you have to give answers that were contrary to what you believed just to pass tests or papers? Feed them what they wanted, basically.
Yeah, I never verbally said it. Papers and stuff, you definitely have to say it. Our final was on evolution and different ideas from Charles Darwin and things like that, that was worth 50% of your grade.
Okay.
But to me it was, just because I'm telling him what he wants to hear isn't really what I'm hearing in my heart and mind. So it didn't really faze me. Now I had friends that chose not to write it, failed the class, and took it with another professor. But at the end of the day, I didn't believe what I was writing, so it didn't really matter to me what I was writing.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to give the answer they want in order to pass the test, even though it's not what you believe. Did they allow you to write opinion papers that disagreed with them, or not?
Yeah.
Oh, they did allow you. Okay.
They weren't graded very highly, but you were allowed to write them.
Okay. And that's going to be the same anywhere. It was when I was in seminary. The professor didn't like what I wrote on a paper and graded me pretty harshly on it. because it didn't agree with what he thought. And so, yeah, you can do that. So how did you handle, how did you think you handled, or what was your way of handling your faith, I guess, going through this place where they're not, where they attack your faith? How do you handle that?
I kept my head down.
Okay.
That was probably the easiest thing. At Du Bois, I had a lot of Christian friends that were in the wildlife program with me, and Ryan, he's one of my classmates. He's still one of my classmates. He went on to state college with me. We were each other's rock. You know, it was easy to talk about these things with each other. We were in the same biology classes and things. But in state college, it was definitely different because anything you say there, people remember it. Like, I don't know if it's just a town, but their minds work on such a different level from around here. And anything that you say, it's just like in court, will be used against you. And so anything you missay, you misspeak, it's gonna come back and bite you. So the easiest thing for me was keep my head down and not really. But then again, I did have Pastor Mike to go home to every evening and, you know, complain to about what I put up with in college that day and what he thought about. So that was probably the buffer for me. I'm sure other kids had it way worse than I did.
So what advice would you give other Christian students entering secular colleges to keep their faith? What would you say to them to help keep their faith? What would you tell them to do, I guess? Or
don't give in. It gets very tough, to the point where you may spend nights crying because you're torn between that friend group or spending your entire day alone. When I started college, I thought it was no big deal to surround myself with those kinds of people if I didn't partake in it. But that's an unclogged drain. When they spiral, they take you with you, or they take you with them, and it's very hard to climb back out of it. You as my church family probably never knew what my parents put up with from me. It was rough for a while, but over time I got back on track. But you should probably give my parents a hug.
yeah, it's good to have parents to do that. Any others who have been through the college, what would you say who've been through a secular university? How did you get through it? I know some of you probably have. How did you deal with it?
I know as an interpreter, I had to interpret some things that were really difficult to interpret. But through it all, I just kept praying, Lord, open their eyes, and that they won't, the other ones around them might be blinded to what they're teaching, because they're very good at trying to brainwash the kids. And it's scary.
Yeah. Anyone else?
First thing I did was join Youth for Christ.
Okay.
Because I you're around so many different opinions and everything, and just to stay grounded. And of course, I had the most difficult was evolution, and I got a C- in it because I didn't give in. I wouldn't answer some of the answers they wanted.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I was older when I went to school.
Okay.
So what happened was that there was actually a group of kids that would go to classes with me. You know, they were in that class too, and it gave me an opportunity to talk to them about Christ and, you know, what they were doing with their lives. And, I guess because I was older, I didn't feel the pressure that you feel when you're younger. I mean, I had gone to school when I was younger, and it was, I'm done. So, just was a choice later.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I'd have to say, I went to school at IUP, but I also worked there, and it's definitely a very liberal thinking And, you know, I knew there were some other Christians there, but everybody was quiet. Nobody said too much. And God put on my heart to write an article for the IUP paper on modern day miracles. And I wrote it, wasn't sure my boss was going to approve it to be in there, but he did. He did approve it. And when it came out, I got a lot of emails from people saying, I'm your Christian sister,
Okay.
or brother. So I think my advice would be share your faith, because you may find strength in other people that are also Christians that you didn't know. Because once someone came out to me, I was like, whoa, I was shocked that. I didn't know that at all, you know. They must be probably thinking the same thing as me. So I think, I know it's tough, especially if you're going to school, and workplace is a little different, but if you share your faith and be real open and honest, and don't do it in a, I guess, a multiple situation where you can have, you know, people taking sides. Just make it more personal. I think you'll develop some relationships with others, and that'll be a big strength to get you through that situation. I did not have that at the state prison when I worked at the prison. And that was 5 tough years, very tough years. And I'm glad the Lord told me to speak out at IUP and got approved. And God gave me strength through that I can't even explain. So I mean, it's not the same thing as going to school. I realize that, but there's probably a big crowd out there that you don't know that are the silent type, that they're maybe afraid to say something because they don't have anybody else to lean on or to share their faith with. But I think being open, and if you be open, and if the people you're around don't want anything to do with you, that's okay. That's okay. You don't want to really be around them right now either, because they can drag you down. Tyler said. So I think the thing is, you know, be open, find a brother or sister in Christ, and strength, you know, accept that strength in each person. And I think it can make a big difference. It can make a movement. I really do believe that. I could probably give a half-hour speech about how that IUP, how that affected me and some other people. And I just I'm glad I had that opportunity. It was a big change. I wasn't 18 or 19 or 20. I was in my late 40s or early 50s. I can't remember, sometime around there. So took me a few years to have that, feel like I step out like that, but thank God that he helped me do that.
And with IUP, one of the things, their basketball coach, Joe Monardi, I think is what it is Roman Catholic by background, but he has really been strong for people of faith in IUP. Having the faith nights, having the kids' testimony, talking about the mission trips they went on and things. So even in a secular university, somebody like a basketball coach who brought in the Pirates manager at the time, who shared his faith, Clint Hurdle, and had a packed room in there. So there's some that can do that and are doing that. Anything else you want to say?
I do want to read the verse.
Okay.
Verses. You have to bear with me. It's from Isaiah 41, 10 through 13. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will bond you with my righteous right hand. Be sure that all you are enraged against you will be ashamed and disgraced. Those who contend with you will become as nothing and will perish. You will look for those who contend with you, but you will not find them. Those who war against you will become absolutely nothing. For I am the Lord your God, who holds your right hand, who says to you, do not fear, I will help you. And those got me through. After my rough patch, I found that verse, those verses, and held on to those pretty close.
Any questions?
Pastor, if I could, just one of the things that I know when I came out of college, I felt I had a stronger faith than when I even went in because of what I experienced and what I came against. But I mean, like I came in as a non-traditional student as well. I went to college after I was in the Navy, so I was a little bit more mature than I would have been straight out of high school. But I mean, I enjoyed the apologetic side of our faith. Like I listened to Josh McDowell a lot, read a lot of his books, did a lot of stuff like that. So I went into college with the armament and the ability, and I think that's so important with our kids. I know we went through the Truth Project in the Sunday school class. That's one of the main reasons that I did that. You need to know why you believe what you believe.
Yeah.
If you go into college just with a feeling that God is real and that God, we don't practice a faith of feelings and unfounded belief. We have science and things behind our faith that support it. I mean, it's not just a matter, I hear a lot of times, and a lot of kids that I ran into in college, when we're confronted with that, why are you a Christian? Well, I feel God, and that's great, and that's an important part of our faith. It's also an important part of our faith to be able to articulate that and know what our faith is built on. There's so much out there that you can find and you can study and know that. I mean, I the same as Tyler, I got into a confrontation with one of my professors one of the first days in the class, and it was over evolution. And unfortunately for me, the professor that I was in this interaction with was a mature individual that didn't hold it against me, accepted it as another belief that had merit. I think when it came down to it, one of the statements he says is, I guess I have to have a lot more faith in what I believe than what you do. Wow. Because of the interactions that we had. Because I pulled out a lot of things that he had never considered. And I've always been thankful. He's always been one of my favorite professors. He was a non-Christian. I don't think he just died here within the last couple of years, and I don't ever think he actually, I don't know, I hope he accepted Christ at some point. But it was nice but there are some who, if you have any kind of a good argument, they're going to hold it against you.
Yeah.
And I don't see, I hear people say about, well, I'm not answering those questions like that because you have to put it in context. Well, I looked at it when I was answering those questions, they were asking me about evolution. They weren't asking me if it was true. Like, if they would have asked me a statement to say, do you believe in evolution? No. But in terms of the evolutionary theory, and then ask you this question, I don't feel that I'm doing anything incorrect because I'm answering it in context of that. So but I would encourage it. Like, we were so blessed to have Tyler be able to stay with Pastor Mike and Mary and have a Christian influence to go back to and to be grounded in and to help in that way. But what I experienced in my college career is nothing compared to what these kids experience now. Because, in my college career, the challenge to my faith was the evolutionary theory. Maybe a couple things here and there that came up, but weren't widespread and weren't predominant. Now, with gender equalities and gender identifications and all the different race things that are coming out, I mean, there is so much that challenges our students that we have to be diligent to make sure that they go with the knowledge of why we believe what we believe. Because if somebody talks you into it, somebody can talk you out of it.
Yeah, you're right.
Can I say
Thank you,
something?
Tyler. Go ahead.